Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Lehr with me, host Imperial Dane. The next topic being the IS2 heavy tank. Yes, indeed, we've already sort of dealt with the Tiger. Now we move on to the IS2. Currently, they're actually a bit similar. I know overall, in fact, they pretty much have the exact same cost. And to a certain extent, they actually largely play the same, with though some noticeable differences here and there, but at the same time, not too big differences, which is a bit unfortunate, I'll admit. We do, for example, have a slightly more expensive and also more powerful Pinto machine gun here for the IS2. The also Stalin 2 tank might also be a bit faster, in fact, overall compared to the Tiger tank. But the overall differences lie in the IS2 has less health, more frontal armor though, compared to the Tiger tank. I believe it also has got much better splash damage. It's also got better penetration. So in those regards, in several more offensive variants, the IS2 is actually the superior tank, but again, less health. Rate of fire on the IS2 is likely the same, not entirely sure what happens here. It's like halving out, I'm afraid. By the way, powerful heavy tank, one of the most powerful heavy tanks in the game currently. Able to, with one shot, wipe out an entire infantry squad, since he does again have the more impressive AoE. Can take on most German medium armor in one go quite easily, though some of the same weaknesses does apply. For example, again, heavy focused fire versus the IS2 will cause a bit of trouble, though compared to the Tiger tank in general it can shrug off a few more shots from front, because again it has a higher chance of bouncing off, though again, I mean, ultimately again, with too heavy focused fire the effect will of course only last for so long. That is something very valuable to keep in mind. But of course, again, I mean, using the IS2 again in the spearhead formation, just like the Tiger, can net you some very potent reactions. In particular, since the IS2 simply can, one-shot entire enemy squads, can also much easier clear out enemy anti-tank guns and support weapons, overall allowing for a much greater breakthrough weapon, which is in fact what the IS2 was designed for. Breaking through front lines and fortified points, shattering anything that might get in your way. And of course the IS2 lives up to that, of course. In the more mobile armor engagement, the IS2 though can be a bit a problem. In particular, since the lower health does actually give it a slight disadvantage if it gets flanked compared to the Tiger, since if it gets flanked, of course, there's still the weaker rear armor, more shots penetrate, and of course, it doesn't quite have the same health as the Tiger tank. So in that department, if flanked, it's actually a bit more weaker. And will actually more quickly go down if you're not careful. I mean, a pair of Panzer IVs can, in theory, actually take the IS2 down faster if they flank it, than the IS2 can actually deal with them. So that's actually a little important thing to keep in mind. Of course, target weak point is a great threat to you. And of course, it won't always penetrate. Of course, depending if it's a pack or two, the chances are higher or lower. But nonetheless, it is also something to be very mindful of, and also be mindful of when you attack. Because if you're not careful, you will end up taking some rather serious bruises. Of course, repairs as always also quite vital. 2 engineer squads are a good minimum. 3 would also be good, though again, less health. Of course, you can order with 2 repair a bit faster than say 2 pioneers to repair a Tiger. But again, at least more than 1 engineer squad is always recommended to get your Tiger or the IS2 repaired. Otherwise, you might suddenly find yourself with less of a heavy tank rather quickly, and certainly also again find it much more often off the battlefield. Compared to the Tiger tank though, there aren't any commander abilities that basically augment it. There's no Panzer Tactician, for example, that all of a sudden give you a bit extra there. So that of course also good to keep in mind. Veterancy bonuses, you get secure mode like any other Soviet tank. A Veteran 2 is largely the same thing. You get more range, you get more accuracy, things like that, and of course Veteran 3, better mobility, higher rate of fire. So except for a small few changes there again, it's largely the same as the Tiger. Again, a bit awkward in some regards, admittedly. Who knows if that might not be okay too. Currently also the IS2 doesn't really see much action, though it can still see action. Still a powerful heavy tank, still the one that can pretty much rub off the most shots from the front at the moment of any tank. And concerning a 1 vs 1 situation, tango with the best of them, certainly can take on a Panther one-on-one and generally come out of that one pretty solidly. So there's also something to keep in mind. But again, vulnerable to flanking from the rear, and also vulnerable, like the Tiger though, to getting absolutely focused down with heavy frontal fire, though perhaps less vulnerable than the Tiger again, due to a high chance of bouncing off. Then again, if you hit with sufficient target weak point, you're going to find yourself in a bit of a spot of a bother. That is very important to keep in mind. Of course, the Dushka providing quite solid anti-infantry firepower as well, plus a decent anti-aircraft coverage as well, so in that department an IS-2 upgrade can serve in slightly more roles than one not upgraded. So is also vital to keep in mind here when utilizing the IS-2, when fighting with it, when slashing down the enemies of the Soviet peoples. Beyond that, there's not really much to comment on. I mean, in part, again, you know, a lot of the same stuff for the Tiger is. Again, you know, use it as a spearhead. Don't rush it in too far ahead, because just like the Tiger's one being flanked, again, it's more vulnerable. In fact, so you actually need to keep a bit more closer with infantry. But again, augmenting an assault, it really becomes really powerful. In fact, it becomes more powerful than the Tiger doing the same. You can use to clear out enemy support weapons, enemy infantry squads, taking them out. In that regard, you know, the IS-2 then is extremely powerful, extremely helpful, extremely handy. And used in the correct manner can absolutely bring terror to your foes. In particular, the opponent is not prepared, then an IS-2 can wreak serious havoc, serious harm, and do a lot of things to sort of make things unpleasant. Storm gets shots in sufficient numbers with packs, actually one of the greater threats, and again, it comes down to then to the sheer rate of fire the Stooks can unleash, plus if they can get a bit of target weak point, that further gives them a chance of penetrating. And again, they actually have maybe a 1 in a third chance of penetrating the front of the IS-2. So again, it rather comes down to rate of fire, and again, just basically blasting it with everything you can muster. Too little and it'll just break through. And of course, in these situations, again, you want to sort of focus down the Pack 40 first, because a Pack 40 will be the easy target, no armor to penetrate. And of course, you can quickly up the crew, maybe wreck the pack, then you can sort of deal with the armor. Certainly, with that in mind, people have a bit of a clear idea sort of to how to utilize the IS-2, how to fight against it, how to fight with it, how not to get it out to the wreck, and of course, how to get it out to the wreck when fighting against it. And of course, right here, target weak point goes off. Stun, again, one of the great effects, but also note it was actually pretty quickly clearing out the Pack 40, and that was even just using the Dushka. So, I mean, again, actually really effective at clearing out anti-tank guns, no matter what. In this case, of course, the severe fire sort of forced it back, but even then, I mean, it actually shrugged off some of the shots there. And actually got out reasonably well, despite having gotten stunned there for some time. So with that, people will hopefully again understand the IS-2 better, understand its strengths and weaknesses, what its purpose is. Again, it can handle armor, but generally if you sort of are attacking, clear out the support weapons if possible first. And of course, as the Germans realise, they'll probably target those first. And well, that's it really for the IS-2. Hopefully that has given you a clear idea of the IS-2, its strengths, its weaknesses, how to use it, how to fight with it and against it, and so on. If you did, you know, feel free to subscribe, share it with your friends, post it everywhere. If not, you know, sorry about that. Feel free to make a request. I'll try to fulfill it, though I can't make any guarantees. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.